Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today we will discuss the topic. The head of topic is that the most dangerous and wild Indian borderlines a serious threat to national and territorial security. A joint analysis at village level for each border state of India. This discussion will be continued in number of series, starting with series 1, and we'll discuss why with different questions like why, what is the meaning of this title, and why you are discussing like that. First, let me say what it means, that most dangerous and wild Indian borderlines. Why you are saying it's dangerous? Because India's borderlines are definitely dangerous geographically, like thick vegetations, dark forest, hardly can be penetrated, hardly can be patrolled through or can be traversed through. And wild Indian borderlines means perhaps Indian borderlines are wilder than thought and than most other countries' borderlines. Most other countries' borderlines not as wilder as India. And a serious threat to national and territorial security, because if it is not properly maintained, then it becomes a national and territorial, it becomes a threat to national and territorial security. So it would be discussed later. This analysis, the GEOINT means geo-intelligence analysis at village level for each border state of India. Now we will not discuss all the villages of India. We will discuss only those border villages for each border state of India. We will not discuss the villages which are inside, only those villages uh, which are maintaining the international border lines. These villages for each border state will be discussed. Now we will start with few questions like what the above title means. Indian border villages are the last fortress to our defense systems, what is always subject to threat from outside and inside. So considering natural, geographical and topographical barrier at those border villages is important for securing our national territorial integrity. Securing the border area public assets like dam, hydroelectric projects, wildlife sanctuaries, tourist interests, and roads for both border area surveillance and public utility are always subject to enemy's target, as immediately after sabotage, the saboteur can fly off crossing the international border to take shelter into his hosting country. Now, these assets in the border area, like dam, hydroelectric projects, wildlife sanctuaries, tourist interests, and these are national assets, and as they are situated in the border districts or border states, they are always subject to enemies' easy-going target, easy target, because that is in the border, and immediately after sabotage, the saboteur can fly off crossing the international border to take shelter into his hosting country. As we can see, it's in the Western Front also. In the Eastern Front, we haven't seen it so far, but there are a lot of asset damaged in the recent period. So this will be discussed. The entire analysis has adopted new technology called GIS, Geographic Information System, to create the maps, Google Earth Pro tools, integration of geospatial data, GEOINT means geospatial intelligence tools, census statistics, Indian census statistics, and topographic sheets. Which is the What is the purpose of the present study? Now, why we are studying it? Out of a lot of topics in there, but why we are choosing this of the lot? The purpose of the present study is primarily to see geographic and topographic undulation at Indian border villages around Indian land borders, which are the last fortress to secure a country's national and territorial integrity. In any warfare, the wedding parties always try to capture the opposition's territory as the end outcome. This is always the case of present warfare between Russia, Ukraine, Armenia, Azerbaijan. A lot more examples can be provided. The aim purpose of aerial dominance, electronic warfare, and military supremacy is not only to capture ultimately the foreign land, but also to defend our own territorial integrity. The one thing is said that in any warfare, the warring parties each warring party tries to capture lands of the opposition. So, but this is the case for present warfare between Russia, Ukraine, and Armenia, Azerbaijan. A lot more examples can be provided. But one more purpose, like the end purpose of aerial domains. Now, each countries are spending huge lot of monies on acquiring electronic wire gadgets. Why is it so? It is not only to capture foreign land, but also to defend our own territory. Also to defend their own territory, they are acquiring lots of arms, ammunitions, electronic gadgets, uh, wire gadgets. So the end purpose of aerial dominance, electronic warfare, military supremacy is not only to capture ultimately the foreign land, but also to defend our own territorial integrity. A hostile geography and wildly unregulated topography serves as natural deterrent to both foreign enemy as well as the national border security forces. In proxy war also, tough geographic situation of the border is not only becomes deterrent to the foreign enemy, but also helps in national army to maintain the border, though it is tough for them also, because if their borderlines are highly mountainous, highly deep, thick forest, dense forest, then it becomes a natural deterrent to the foreign enemy, like foreign influx of illegal immigration, influx of cross-border terror. I mean, influx of cross-border terrorism, influx of foreign enemy, foreign forces is definitely it acts as a deterrent. But at the same time, the national security forces also cannot cannot patrol to this forest, dense forest, as it is impenetrable. So uh, it becomes a natural fortress for both the sides. The study is unique and never before. It has never been done before. Must for all Indian citizens, as they should know how the border looks like. And students of geography, these aspirants of competitive examination like UPSC, security experts, and also by national defense strategists, because this is an unique presentation. Okay, so what is topography? Now we are starting with basic questions, like we are always using the word topography and geography. Geography everyone knows, but topography is actually the study of land surface. In particular, it lays underlying foundation of landscape. For example, topography refers to mountain, valleys, rivers, or craters on the surface. Now, for reference, this is the reference line. Now, here is a picture that what topography means, like terrain, mountain, hills, rivers, lakes, valleys, plains, all part of topography. But this man-made built-up area is not part of topography. This is man-made. Now, what is the purpose of studying topography at border areas? Topographically higher elevation at border can provide a natural barrier that can help a country secure its land over its neighbor in several ways. Now, here are some points how it can safeguard. One is the physical obstacle. A high elevation can serve as a physical obstacle that makes it difficult for invading forces to cross the border. This can be especially effective if the terrain is rugged or steep, as it can slow down or even halt an advancing army. Second is tactical advantage. A country with a higher elevation on its border can also gain tactical advantage over its neighbor. For example, soldiers stationed at higher ground can see further, making it easier to detect and repel any potential threat. Now, third is strategic positioning. A high elevation can also provide a strategic position from which to defend against attacks. This can be especially important if the border is long and difficult to patrol, as a high elevation can provide a natural fortress that can be defended with fewer resources. And fourth is psychological deterrent. Finally, a high elevation can serve as a psychological deterrent, sending a message to the potential invaders that the country is well defended and not to be taken lightly. So overall, having a topographical higher elevation at border can provide a country with a range of advantages that can help to secure its land over its neighbor. So, next question. Could you provide some historical examples for benefits of topographic higher elevation or the older times at border areas of countries in general? Like whether in practice there have been in any benefits. I mean, there has been there are some examples for benefits of topographic higher elevation of, in border areas in the older times. Yes, this is correct. Examples can be provided globally. Globally means almost for all continents except Antarctica. For all 6 continents, we can provide examples like we can provide it globally for almost all the continents except Antarctica. Let me provide an example of a country that benefits from topographical high elevation at its border. That's Afghanistan. Afghanistan is a landlocked country in Central Asia, surrounded by 6 neighboring countries including Pakistan, Iran, Tajikistan. The country is known for its rugged mountainous terrain, with much of its borders defined by high elevation. The Hindu Kush mountain range, which runs through the country's central region, serves as a national barrier that has helped Afghanistan defend itself against invading forces for centuries. The rugged terrain has made it difficult for foreign armies to penetrate into the country and has allowed Afghan people to maintain their independence and sovereignty. In addition to providing a physical barrier, the mountainous terrain has also given Afghanistan a strategic advantage in warfare. The high elevation has allowed Afghan forces to observe and monitor their enemies from a safe distance and has provided a strong defensive position from which to launch counterattacks. Overall, the topographical high elevation of at its border has helped Afghanistan to secure its land over its neighbors and maintain its independence and sovereignty throughout history. One example of whether border topography elevation helped a country to win over where in Europe is the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC. In this battle, a small force of Greeks, led by King Leonidas I of Sparta, faced off against a much larger Persian army led by King Xerxes I. The Greeks chose to their stand at a narrow pass known as the HAWKEYE, which was flanked on one side by a steep mountain, on the other side by sea. Now, the Persians who vastly outnumbered the Greeks, were unable to use their numerical advantage due to the narrowness of pass. Additionally, the steep mountain on one side of the pass made it difficult for the Persians to flank the Greek defenders. The Greek soldiers were able to use their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. They were able to block the pass with a wall of shields and use the narrowness of the pass to funnel the Persian soldiers into a tight space where their numerical advantage was neutralized. So the Persians, even with bigger number of soldiers, they couldn't get through the Greek soldiers. Ultimately, the Greeks were able to hold the Persians' army for 3 days before being betrayed by local residents who showed the Persians a secret mountain path that allowed them to flank the Greek defenders. However, the Battle of Thermopylae or Battle at Thermopylae demonstrated how the topography of the land can play a crucial role in military strategy and how knowledge of the terrain can be a decisive factor in victory of defeat. This is one example in Europe. One more example of where border topography elevation helped the border security force in Europe is the Pyrenees mountain range, which formed a natural border between France and Spain. The Pyrenees is a rugged and mountainous region that includes peaks over 3,000 meters, roughly some 9,800 feet high, as well as deep valleys and narrow passes. This topography makes it difficult for people to cross the border illegally, as it requires high level of physical fitness and mountaineering skill to traverse the terrain. In addition, the border security force of both France and Spain had set up monitoring and surveillance system around the Pyrenees to monitor any attempt to cross the border. These systems include lookout towers, cameras, patrols by border security agents. The topography of the Pyrenees, with its high peaks and deep valleys, also makes it difficult for smugglers to transport goods across the border. This has helped to reduce illegal trafficking of drugs and other contrabands. Overall, the Pyrenees mountain range has helped to provide a natural barrier that makes it difficult for unauthorized individuals and goods to cross the border between France and Spain, and has thus assisted in the effort of border security forces to protect their respective countries. In recent conflicts between Ukraine and Russia, as well as Armenia, Azerbaijan, the role of border topography and elevation has been significant, but not necessarily a decisive factor in military success. In case of Ukraine-Russia conflict began in 2014, the terrain of the border region between these two countries is generally flat and featureless, with no significant topographical barriers that would impede military movement. So normally the border was flat. However, the proximity of major urban centers such as Donetsk and Luhansk to the border has made them strategic targets for both sides, and control over these cities has been hotly contested. In the case of Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, that reignited in 2020 over the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh. Nagorno-Karabakh, the terrain of the region is mountainous and rugged, with elevations ranging from 1,000 to 400 meters. Sorry, 1,000 to 4,000 meters, like some 3,300 to 13,000 feet above sea levels. The mountainous terrain has posed a significant logistical challenges for both sides, as well as making it difficult to launch effective offensives and maintain supply lines. In both conflicts, what we see, the topography of the border regions has influenced military strategies and tactics, but has not necessarily been a decisive factor in determining military success. Other factors such as balance of military power, political alliance, international support has played a greater role in determining the outcomes of this conflict. One example where border topography elevation has helped a country to win over weather in modern Asia is the conflict between India and Pakistan over Siachen Glacier in the Himalayas. The Siachen Glacier is the world's highest battlefield, situated at an elevation of over 5,000 meters, roughly 16,000 feet above sea level. The region is characterized by steep, rugged terrain and is extremely cold and inhospitable, with temperatures dropping to minus 40 degrees Celsius to minus 70 degrees Celsius in winter. In 1984, India launched a military operation to occupy the Siachen Glacier, which was believed to be under Pakistani control. The Indian Army was able to gain tactical advantage due to the difficult terrain and harsh weather conditions, which made it very difficult for Pakistani forces to mount an offensive counter. The Indian Army was also able to set up networks of observation posts along the glacier, which allowed them to monitor Pakistani troops' movement and take preemptive action when necessary. This gave them a strategic advantage in the conflict. Despite the extreme physical condition and logistic challenges, both India and Pakistan have maintained a military presence in Siachen Glacier region for several decades, making it one of the most hostile and dangerous borders of the world. Overall, the difficult terrain and extreme elevation of the Siachen Glacier region played a crucial role in India's military success in the conflict. This high altitude, freezing temperatures, and rugged terrain posed significant challenges to both sides, but ultimately helped India to gain an advantage and secure control in the region. One example of where border topographic elevation helped the border security forces is the Arab-Israeli conflict in Golan Heights, which is a strategic plateau in southwestern Syria that overlooks the Israeli border. The Golan Heights rises to an elevation of over 1,000 meters, roughly 3,300 feet above sea level, making it an ideal vantage point for monitoring any movement on the Israeli side of the border. Israeli border security forces have set up a network of surveillance systems, including cameras, radar, along the borders to monitor any attempts by hostile forces to breach the border. In addition to its strategic location, the rugged terrain of the Golan Heights makes it difficult for any ground forces to mount any offensive against Israeli border security forces. The steep slopes, rocky mountains create natural barriers that impede any attempts to cross the border, and the Israeli military has also set up a network of fortifications and bunkers along the border to further deter any hostile action. The Golan Heights has been a key flashpoint of Arab-Israel conflict with Syria, and Israel engaging in a number of military confrontations in the region over the years. However, the difficult terrain and high elevation of Golan Heights have helped Israeli border security forces to maintain a control of the border and prevent any significant breaches by hostile forces. The topographical advantage provided by Golan Heights played a significant role in Israel's success in the Yom Kippur War, or also known as Ramadan War. The IDF, Israel Defense Force, was able to use the high ground to their advantage, outmaneuvering and defeating Syrian forces in the region. The Israel victory in the Golan Heights ultimately helped to secure the country's borders and establish its dominance in the region. Overall, the topographically higher elevation along the border between Israel and Syria provided a key military advantage for Israel during the Yom Kippur War, demonstrating the importance of geography and topography military strategy. One example of where border topography elevation helped a country to win over in modern Africa is the Ethiopian-Eritrean War that took place from 1998 to 2000. The conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea was primarily fought over the disputed border regions of Bagmi, which is located in the rugged and mountainous terrains of Ethiopian-Eritrean border. The region is characterized by steep escarpment and deep valleys, which made it difficult for ground forces to move effectively and launch offensives. During the war, Ethiopian military was able to take advantage of the difficult terrain at high elevations of the border region to repel Eritrean offensives and maintain control of the disputed territory. Ethiopian troops used the mountainous terrain to set up fortified positions and observation posts, which allowed them to monitor Eritrean troops' movement and launch preemptive strikes when necessary. The Ethiopian Air Force also played a crucial role in the conflict, using its aircraft to launch precision strikes on Eritrean military positions located in the mountains. The high elevations of the border region made it difficult for Eritrean air defense to operate effectively, which gave the Ethiopian Air Force a significant advantage. Ultimately, the Ethiopian military was able to use the difficult terrain and high elevation of the border region to its advantage and was able to achieve military victory over Eritrea in the conflict. Another example in Africa, during the Angolan Civil War, that lasted from 1975 to 2002, the rugged and mountainous terrains of the eastern border region between Angola and Zambia played a crucial role in the military strategies of both sides. One example of how border topography height helped a country to win over in South America is the case of Bolivia and Chile, the War of Pacific that lasted from 1879 to 1883. The War of Pacific was fought over control of valuable mineral resources in the Atacama Desert, which lies along the Pacific coast of South America. Bolivia and Peru formed an alliance against Chile but Chile was ultimately victorious, largely due to its superior military strategy and tactics, which took advantage of the topography of the region. So Chile's army was able to exploit the mountainous terrain along with the border with Bolivia, which gave them a significant advantage in the conflict. Chilean forces used the high elevations of the Andes mountain to observe and monitor the movements of Bolivian troops, and launched a surprise attack from high ground. Chilean troops were also able to move quickly and easily through the mountain passes, while the Bolivians and Peruvian armies struggled to navigate through difficult terrain. So Chilean soldiers were better equipped to fight in the harsh conditions of Andes, were able to maintain supply lines and communications through the mountains, giving them a decisive advantage. Ultimately, Chile emerged as a victor in the war of specific and securing control of valuable mineral resources in the Atacama Desert and establishing itself as a dominant military power in South America. The topographical high elevation along the border with Bolivia played a significant role in Chile's victory, demonstrating the importance of geography and topography in military strategy. One more example of border topography helped a country to win a war in North America is the case of United States and Mexico in the Mexican-American War that lasted from 1846 to 1848. During the war, the United States was able to use its superior military strategy and tactics along with the natural topographical advantage provided by the border between the two countries to achieve a decisive victory over Mexico. The US-Mexico border is characterized by several mountain ranges, including the Sierra Madre and Rocky Mountains, which provided a natural barrier that made it difficult for Mexican troops to move quickly and effectively through the region. This allowed the United States to take advantage of its superior mobility and firepower to outmaneuver and defeat the Mexican army. One key example of this battle of Monterrey was the Battle of Monterrey, which took place in September 1846. US forces led by General Zachary Taylor was able to use the mountainous terrain to their advantage, positioning their troops on high ground to rain down artillery fire on Mexican army below. The Mexican forces, unable to effectively counterattack due to the difficult terrain, were ultimately forced to retreat. And the US also used the topographical advantage of its border with Mexico to launch a successful amphibious assault on the Mexican port city of Veracruz. By landing troops on the beach and by scaling nearby cliffs, US forces were able to capture the city and gain a strategic foothold in Mexico. Overall, the topographical higher elevation along the border with Mexico provided United States with a significant military advantage during Mexican-American War, allowing them to take advantage of the difficult terrain to outmaneuver and defeat the Mexican army. Now come to Australia. In Australia, the topographical higher elevation at its border had played a role in helping to secure the country's land over its neighbors, particularly in the northern region of the country. Australia's northern border is characterized by Timor and Arafura seas, as well as the rugged terrain of Arnhem Land Plateau, which lies along the border with Indonesia. The plateau is a region of high cliffs and deep gorges and rocky outcrops, which provides a natural barrier that has historically made it difficult for foreign forces to invade Australian territory. During World War II, the Japanese forces attempted to invade northern Australia, but topographical higher elevations along the border with Indonesia provided a significant military advantage to the Australian forces. The rugged terrain made it difficult for the Japanese to advance, and the Australian army was able to use the high ground to launch effective counterattacks. Today, the Australian government continues to prioritize sorry, the security of its northern borders with a focus on protecting the country's natural resources and preventing the entry of illegal immigrants and smugglers. The topographically higher elevation of the Arnhem Land Plateau remains a key part of Australia's defence strategy, providing a natural barrier that helps to secure the country's land over its neighbour. Overall, the topographical higher elevation at its border has played an important role in helping to secure Australia's land over its neighbours, providing a natural barrier that has historically made it difficult for foreign forces to invade and conquer the country. So far we have given all ample examples in the older times how topographical high elevation and difficult geography has helped countries to secure and win over their enemies. Now, the question naturally comes, does this topographical higher elevation can still provide strategic advantage even today's warfare? Because today's warfare are mostly strategic, these strategies are almost electronic warfare. So, basically, during this time, how then militaries are using surface to air, air to ground, air to air, so missile systems and drones attacks, drone service, as well as unmanned air vehicles. So, how long this is still valid? Because this question naturally comes because when it is air to air, when everything is going above in the air, say how long this uh, elevation and geographic advantage helps countries to uh, secure themselves and win over their enemies. So higher land elevation can provide strategic advantage in modern warfare also, offering various benefits that can shape the outcome of the conflicts. Here are some examples of how higher land elevation remains important in modern warfare. So even in the modern warfare, we see the countries are utilizing their advantage, topographical higher elevation and geographical areas. Their advantage they are using still into this modern era. Now, first advantage is observation and surveillance. Elevated positions enable better observations and surveillance capabilities. Soldiers stationed on the higher ground have an enhanced line of sight, allowing them to monitor enemy movement, identify targets, and gather intelligence. This advantage has been utilized in conflict worldwide, such as the mountainous regions of Afghanistan, where high elevations provide a vantage point for reconnaissance and surveillance. Defensive positioning. Higher ground offers natural defensive positions allow troops to establish fortified positions such as hilltops or ridgelines and that offer a clear field of fire and good cover. These defensive positions provide a tactical advantage by enabling troops to engage enemy forces from protected location. The Korean Demilitarized Zone (DMZ), which is short, which features elevated terrain, serves as a notable example of how higher elevations can contribute to defensive strategies. Artillery and long-range weaponry. Elevated terrain facilitates the deployment of artillery and long-range weaponry. By placing artillery units on higher ground, the range and effectiveness of their firepower increases significantly. This advantage was evident in the Battle of Khe Sanh during the Vietnam War, where US forces utilized elevated positions to deploy artillery and inflict heavy losses on the enemy. At communication and signal transmission, higher elevation improves communication and signal transmission capabilities. It aids in overcoming line of sight limitations and obstructions, enabling more reliable and efficient communication between units. In mountainous regions, such as the conflict between India and Pakistan in Siachen Glacier, maintaining higher ground allows for better communication in harsh and challenging terrain. And fifth point is Psychological advantage. Higher ground can provide the psychological advantage over warfare. Occupying the high ground often instills a sense of superiority and confidence in troops, while also demilitarizing, while also demoralizing the enemy. The Battle of Iwo Jima in the World War II demonstrated this advantage, as the Japanese forces used elevated Mount Suribachi to their psychological advantage. And control of key points. Higher land elevation can offer control over key terrain features, such as the mountain passes, valleys, or strategic choke points. Occupying these positions allow for control of critical supply routes, line of communication, and strategic areas, influencing the overall outcome of the conflict. The conflict in the Tora Bora region of Afghanistan, with its mountainous terrain, exemplifies the significance of high ground in controlling access points. So, even today's even today, we can see that different countries have adopted or used the benefits of high altitude and wild terrains and geography for their advantage in warfare. So, while modern warfare have introduced advanced technologies and capabilities, the importance of higher land elevations remain relevant due to the tactical advantage it provides in terms of observations, defense, firepower, communication, psychology, and control over critical areas. Despite the application of most advanced aerial and electronic weaponry like surface to surface, surface to air, or air to surface missiles, unmanned air vehicles, drones, and the ultimate objective over is military advancement into enemy land and grab as much as they can. So this is the ultimate objective anywhere. So geographic character of an area is also an important, also a strong determining factor alongside the topography. Thick vegetation, dark or dense forest, high undulated surface inhibit the advancement of enemy as inclement weather does the same. Like inclement weather inhibits the advancement of enemy. Now, this unfavoring surface, land surface, and geography also inhibit the advancement of the enemy. In proxy war like situation, where proxy war means there is no full-fledged war of an this is not a full-fledged war where neighboring countries send militants or mercenaries to foreign land for sabotage, arsons, and carnage, or carnage of innocent peoples and security personnel also. This land grabbing and trespass in foreign land becomes a credible threat to the ruling government. So, we have come to the last part, that here we have established in this series, we have established the logic of analysis of this topic, that why borderlines topography and geography should be discussed, with some examples of older times and of the present times, that how the countries are still using this benefit and why it should be discussed. Some examples has been stated into this series. In the next series zone, we will discuss with border villages, how their actual border villages of Mizoram, what is their actual geography and topography, and who has as against of we'll start with Mizoram vis-a-vis Myanmar, though Mizoram has the other side with Bangladesh, but we'll not discuss it that night. We'll start with Mizoram vis-a-vis Myanmar, because this area is more wide, and then this region will, who has the advantage, which village, Indian village, we'll discuss it at the village level, so that at the micro level, from we are studying analysis from village level of the border, say sharing international border with Myanmar's region. So we'll see for each village in the border of Mizoram, the analysis will be the how the geographic situation of that area. That means whether it is covered with thick vegetation and forest, and how it looks like. So that would be discussed. At the same time, we'll see the topography, that which of the areas, either that means Indian village or the Myanmar's village, Myanmar's area, who has higher topography, because whoever has the higher topography will have advantage over other. So which has the higher, and we'll discuss some camera management also. That is not our purpose of discussion, but our purpose is to see that when, if you have the topest position, then you can have some military long distance camera equipped with infrastructure into that point that can look through a deeper inside of the enemy territory as well as Indian territory. So if you have the higher point, if you have the highest point, then you can have that advantage. If you don't have that highest point, in the Myanmar side at the highest point, highest altitude, they will have that. They will have more advantage than on Indian side. But whatever it is, we'll see the total profile of height. I mean that elevation profiles. We'll analyze it in the next series. Next series on, we'll start discussing different villages of border villages of Mizoram districts. So if you like this topic, please subscribe my channel, continue to follow it, give me a like, and please try to share my topic so that I can be encouraged. Uh, Give your valuable comments, and next series on, we'll try to give you a total three-dimensional picture of what exactly the border looks like. Thank you very much. Have a good day.